They're a little.
All right, you're now live.
Thanks, David. Good evening. The meeting will now come to order. Welcome to the July 17th regular meeting of the West Hartford Commission of the Arts. My name is Chuck Corsi, and I'm the chair of the West Hartford Commission of the Arts. This meeting is being conducted in a virtual format in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act as amended by Public Act number 21-2, which authorizes municipalities to conduct public meetings virtually. Members of the public can view the meeting live on WHCTV at whctv.org and YouTube/WHCTV5. The meeting is also being recorded for on-demand viewing and will be available on the town's website. Since we are conducting this meeting in a virtual format, there are some special rules and procedures I need to cover before we begin. First, I ask all participants to mute your device when you're not speaking. If you wish to be recognized, please raise your hand and I will call on you the order I see hands raised. If you are participating via audio only, or I do not call on you and debate is ending, then unmute your phone and let me know so that I can recognize you. Second, all speakers must make a good faith effort to state the person's name and title at the outset of each occasion that such person participates in the meeting. Third, all votes must be taken by roll call unless the vote is unanimous. Fourth, a reminder that if any participant has a problem with connectivity, you should immediately call David, whose phone number you were provided to earlier. He will let me know and we will recess the meeting while the problem is resolved. If it cannot be resolved quickly, we will ask that you call into the meeting using a phone and participate via audio only. Now, let's proceed with the roll call. Karen Bachman.
Here.
Matthew Bragg is absent. Javier Colon.
Here.
Of course he is here. LaTanya Farrell.
Here.
Ginny Kemp. So Ginny.
Here.
Carol McCabe.
Here.
Marilla Pinedasor.
Here.
And Susan Rothenberg.
Here.
All right. Okay. You all have seen the minutes that I sent last week. Unless anybody has any questions, do we have a motion to approve? I see that Marilla has made the motion. Karen, you seconding? Okay. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand or saying aye. I think it's going to be unanimous. Yes, it is. Okay. Now on to, David, do we have anybody that has joined us for public comment?
We do not.
Okay, thank you. So old business, why West Hartford Arts and Culture calendar? I just wanted to give you a quick update. It is working. I have reached out to arts organizations. They all know it's there. We have events that are posted. If you do not know of any, because I'm relying on, I take a perusal of it. I haven't seen anything wrong, but if you hear from anybody or any arts organization that has not received it, the Arts and Culture Collaborative has been distributing it and posting as well. We can't make people post, but we make it available to everybody. Does anybody have any comments on that or questions, concerns, insights? Okay. With that, let's move on to the discussion on the documents that they had sent to you. And I'll kind of lead in, we're trying to be as helpful as we can to the arts and culture community. Without a budget, it's not like we have a lot of money or any money to share. So I think, what we've been talking about in these meetings for several months now is how we can be most effective. And the consensus was, to help identify places and spaces for local arts and cultural exhibitions, displays, performances, exhibits to be displayed. I am grateful to Ginny and LaTanya. We've met a few times and we have put together this kind of plan. Before we go out and start pitching. Well, did you all have a chance to look at the document that I sent? And I'm not sure if, if you want, I think I can even share my screen. We can kind of go through it. I can do that, right, David? Yeah. Let's see, share. There's nothing incriminating. Here we go. You guys don't want to see pictures of my dogs. So this is this is really a planning document right now. We don't have a messaging document that we can go out and talk to people with because we're not quite there yet. If you look at the objective, obviously we talked about that. We need to, for immediate tasks, we need to prepare a presentation that we can give to stakeholders, artists, and probably most important, the media, because we're going to use the media to get the word out. But just as important is testimonials from those places that are already doing this, that can say that this has benefited their business, it's made their customers happy. If we can, we can help people in drafting something, but we need to, reach out to some of these folks. Do we have? I've got next to it here in terms of trying to get these initial endorsements. First of all, can anybody think of any others that we might want to add to this list? Folks that have already shown their willingness and have hosted events in town.
I know Tisane features local artists' work.
Yeah.
They're not West Hartford, but
No, that's a good point, Ginny. I think when we go out and highlight it, at first, we should stick to West Hartford
yeah.
organizations. And again, I'm fond of saying that, art and culture doesn't recognize the border of Prospect or
Right. No, I get it.
Simsbury Road, but I think just to stay true to our, the town, we are the West Hartford Arts Commission.
Right. No, I hear you.
But initially, I think we keep it to that.
Yep.
Can you guys think of other ones? Maybe who we might want to add is Blueback.
Definitely. I was just going to raise my hand for Blueback Square, the image marketing group there. In addition to that, I was walking on Park Road the other day, and there's music at Plan B. They had 2 live artists, just two guitarists playing music and singing, and the patio was packed. And you could hear the music from Plan B. I was actually at dinner at the Portobello place, but you could hear the music. So they had live music on that whole.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. That whole area was bumping down there by Plan B, which was neat.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I think that right across from them, the newly opened American restaurant had music too. I've passed by and heard them.
What's that called? American Fair?
No.
American...
I'll tell you in a second.
Okay.
Oops.
The next step on these tasks is for us to reach out to them. And, I know that, some of these folks are not known by a lot of folks and that's fine. But Latanya, would you be willing to reach out to the owners of the Russell and Blueback?
I will.
And and just ask them, this is what we're doing. We're looking for just a 1-sentence kind of testimonial on how good it is for their business to do it. And what's that called? Americana.
Yeah, it's
Americana Restaurant and Bar.
Correct.
Some of you might remember that as the Oakwood Cafe, which was on my early 17-year-old Chuck rotation list. Very fond memories of that place. Okay. So Latanya, you reach out to Blueback in the Russell.
I will.
Okay, great. I'll reach out to, I know the guys at WeHa, Figure 8, and St. Joe's. I mean, does anybody know anybody at Americana or wants to take a shot at them? I'd be happy to talk to you beforehand or, tag team.
I'll take a shot at them, Chuck.
Okay, great.
All right, I was gonna volunteer.
Who is that?
Karen?
Karen.
Yeah, I was gonna volunteer, but you take it. Go ahead.
Sure.
Maybe we'll go over
Yeah,
there.
Chuck, you just let me know what.
Yeah. And I also know Ollie, like Gamble. We'll call him. Okay. Once we have our presentation done, and actually, presentation might be a little bit too complicated. It's more of our message. When we go to talk to somebody, these are groups that we should go out to and speak with. The town, we have a number of these neighborhood groups, which is really cool. The Elmwood Business Association, Park Road, West Hartford Center, the Bishop's Corner Neighborhood Association is just getting going again, which is good. So these are the folks that we're initially going to want to go out to and talk about this too, as well as, the media. Whatever. Can people think of others that we should be talking to?
Is there some kind of a organization for the center? Or is that listed here? Like
Yes, West Hartford Center Business Association.
that needs to be added then, right?
Yeah, well, that's there. It's up there, a
Is
couple
it?
more. There it is, right where my cursor is. But you know what, Karen? I thought you were going
Oh,
to
I
say,
see it.
what about the Artists Collaborative? The Art League also. Well, that's part of the collaborative, but we can.
Excuse
Anybody-
Hi,
Yes, Sue.
can I get clarification? So, all right, so first step is reaching out to these different businesses who are already using artists, whatever. Okay, and then second step is what's the stakeholder outreach? Is that what you're talking about now?
Well, the two immediate tasks are what you just said about getting those testimonials, but also
Right.
developing, the messaging. What I can do, I can draft up something and share it with all of you before our next meeting. And, we can kind of just as a placeholder, we can discuss that at the next meeting. And then
Chuck, generally, what is the thought on the messaging? Not the message right now, but what are we looking to accomplish?
we are looking to connect businesses with artists so that the artists can showcase their work at these businesses Now, what we are not, and this is my opinion, you know, this is something open to discussion. We are not schedulers. We're not brokers. We're not arranging deals for these folks. We're doing introductions. But I think the way, you know, music, live music or art or performances, any number of these things may be something a business may have thought about, but they might have some concerns. You know, what's it going to cost? Is it going to upset my current clientele? Is it going to hurt my bottom line? Probably the biggest one. And that's why it's good to get testimonials from folks that have already done it and make that part of our messaging. But at the end of the day, when we have our, I'm going to change this to, when we have our message ready to go out and talk to the chamber, you know, some of these organizations. Now, there's another under stakeholder outreach. This is a little confusing how I did this. The stakeholder artist outreach. No, I'm sorry. The stakeholder business outreach are on the next pages. You know, possible folks that might host these events, exhibitions, whatever. Does that make sense, Karen?
It does. The whole idea was new to me. So, you know, I did read the information. And I guess as it starts to take form, yeah, it'll make some sense.
Okay. No, these are, yeah, please. If this is new to other folks, please let me know. Yeah, this is the first time you're all seeing this document, so of course it's going to be new. Okay, what was I thinking here? So, okay, that's why I didn't have Artist Collaborative there, because we have it down below. There's stakeholder outreach. That these are the stakeholders are folks that can help introduce us to businesses that would host. The artist outreach underneath here is our, you know, where we can find the folks that can present, showcase, what have you. Make sense so far?
So it makes sense to me, and I think to me because I've sat in these, you know, we've been talking about this.
Yep.
But I too would like to hear from the committee or
Yes.
from our council as like what's foggy, what's not on what's foggy with the understanding of helping to identify places and spaces for the local artists. Like what's foggy with these immediate next steps?
Marilla has her hand raised. You might not see her.
Yeah,
see
I
it.
can't see everybody
You
now.
can't see everybody up top.
Yeah.
You can't see everybody when you have the screen on.
Yes, I was wondering, how can we have folks that are on that list that Javier and Latanya created have access to, you know, because I see all the arts and culture collaborative, the symphony and all that. But if there are artists that are individuals that do not belong to the art league, let's
Yes.
say, or how can we have them get in touch? So that's my only question.
Absolutely. No,
'Cause
that's
I didn't
an
see it.
excellent point, Marilla. Excellent point. And again, I think that comes down, that's something we need to add here. Other artists that have reached out to us that may not fall into the categories that we
Yeah.
have, under the collaborative, not the usual suspects. It's an excellent point. And I think how we get to them is, one, we have their contact information so we can reach out to them directly. But the media, earned media and social media is going to be important, because that's how we're going to get it out to broader audiences. With, if we have a good story, Ronnie does something really nice in WeHa that has, okay, if you want to get involved, if you want to learn more, here's where you go. On Facebook.
I think that if I were, I'm just trying to see through a different lens. So if I am an artist that I'm interested, but I see only those organizations, I might think that that's not for me.
Yeah.
So we have to figure out how to word it out.
This is our working document. This is not something that this is just something for us, like a guide. This isn't something that we're going to, we need to share. It's just kind of a planning document for us.
Understood.
Chuck, can I also add to that? I think as we are realistic around how to roll this out, that, just baby steps, hopefully if it takes hold and it sort of grows organically, even if we start off with just, some of the artists who are already affiliated with some of these organizations, hopefully as this grows, then more and more artists will hear about it, and it can be a word of mouth thing as well,
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't have, we shouldn't have any false assumptions here that all of a sudden, we start doing this and there's going to be art flowing in the streets of West Hartford. But I think we need to figure out what we can do to make an impact. As 9 folks on this, who care about our town and who care about arts and culture in our town, and there's a lot going on, but how can we help? And
Chuck, excuse me, it was kind of interesting. That was a nice article that ran in the Current this week.
Yep.
I guess it was Sunday. I don't know. I was away, so I was catching up on papers. But not once did it mention the lively arts and culture community here.
Not
great
for
community.
They did talk about the Playhouse. That was a throwaway sentence. He interviewed me for that, and I spent a lot of time talking with him about arts and culture.
Yeah.
And talking about how it's an opportunity. Because at first I was like, we're not doing enough for this, and he's like, oh, so we're kind of failing there. And I was like, no. It's an opportunity. We have a growing arts and culture scene, and
Right.
There's great opportunity for that to be grown. But he chose not to include that, which often happens.
Sure. It's just an opportunity to, speak about it, since it does. I think one of our problems here is we have a lively arts and culture scene, as you call it, but there's hardly any way to index it, any way to access it, except that you happen to be walking by Plan B and, oh, there's live music. So, oh, well, let's eat there instead of somewhere else. It's, or you walk by the Playhouse, and unless you're on the mailing list, the only way you really see what's there is look at the marquee or go online and look for it. But you don't know to look for it if our town has not made it clear how many different arts organizations there are. I know we've been working on it, but the Chamber of Commerce seems to be more, that whole website seems to be more oriented towards come and live here, real estate, businesses, even though there is a section there on arts and culture. And it's a nice section, but I don't know. We feel like we're a little stuck, so that when we come to something like this, are we looking to talk to the businesses about engaging more artists? Are we looking, what are we trying to accomplish?
We're trying to get them to be a resource and be a place where they can, whether it's someone like Latanya or other singers, or a visual artist, photographers, to display their work. That's really
Okay.
that's the objective.
That's clear.
Yeah.
Mhm. And that's
So,
clear.
so I had an idea, Morella, you had brought up, like, how do you get the artists involved? Those folks, especially from the list. And I do think I think perhaps maybe where we start is really with the stakeholders, kind of what you have there, Chuck, like reaching out to the businesses. We get the testimonials from the businesses where it's working, that they have art in those spaces, and then to reach out to other businesses to say, hey, would you consider this? Would you consider this is what's working here? Would you consider this to liven up these spaces? Would you consider putting up some local photography? Would you, every 2 months, would you just to ask them to consider that? And I think once we get the thumbs up from businesses that say, yeah, this could be neat I could use this on my walls. I spoke with the gentleman that owns Portobello. I love the restaurant. It's delicious. Would you be interested in connecting with the council to see, how we can get some art in your space? And he said yes. So it's just, I think it might be a little more grassroots than that. Just looking at some of these spaces and saying, oh, this could be a spot. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that's an excellent idea, because looking at this, it's pretty ambitious, all these different stuffs, but we take this in little bites. And I absolutely agree that the first thing, we got to know what we're talking about, and we have to be able to explain it clearly and concisely, and also what are the benefits to the business. And then once we have that, we can go out and talk to the businesses, talk to the organizations, the neighborhood groups. And I like that. The artist outreach is, we could even on our Facebook, something as easy as, would you be interested in performing, displaying at businesses in West Hartford? If so, click here and add that to the list that you guys already have, or maybe we use the same address and reform it a little bit, keep the ones we have. I'm getting way far ahead of myself, but I think you're absolutely right, Latanya. Maybe I'm looking at this as it's a little overwhelming, and that's the last thing I want to do is overwhelm and get us kind of stuck. But I think if we get our message down, and part of that message is we got to have existing businesses saying, hey, don't be afraid, this is a good thing and help my business. And
yeah, that's where I'm thinking to go first. Like, we have to have the spaces in place that are willing to welcome the art, because we have the art, we have the people, we have people that are willing, we have creative folks out there.
that's
Space
excellent
for
feedback.
them. I'm sorry?
That's excellent feedback.
I think, maybe this is the next step, but I do think we need to, like you said before, Chuck, I think you made a good point about we're not going to be in the business of coordinating all this for the business and the artists, that we're trying to get the lines of communication open, or maybe, I don't know. I think we need to flush that out more, because it could get complicated in terms of certain venues wouldn't be appropriate for certain musical artists, right? Or even for fine artists. You know, the vibe of, let's say, Kimberly Gift might, you know, work for some artists, but not, you know what I mean? But she, you know, aesthetically. So I don't know. I'm just thinking like it could get complicated, perhaps. I mean, again, I'm getting ahead of we could get ahead of ourselves on this, but I do think it's important, especially if we're going to be talking to media and stuff. We need to think through, well, like how the mechanics of it. So if a business is interested in this, how does that, who's going to be how would they be paired up with an artist? You know, like what would that look like?
That's what I was thinking too, Jenny. I was over at that end of it, the operational end of it, and thinking, so you find a business that said, yeah, I like, well, like the restaurant you were in, LaTanya, and they're interested, now what? You know, do we make an announcement to visual artists to say, go there, and then they're inundated with, maybe inundated with several artists, or an artist whose work that they don't think is appropriate for some reason. Like I'm even thinking about the banks and what an opportunity we have there for displaying art. But again, there's the coordination aspect of it. I don't think the businesses are they're not probably wanting to curate exhibits or sift through who's the right performer for they're seeking performers either because they know them or somebody else knows them. And that's how they're getting to perform. So that's performance, visual art, the spoken word, that kind of art. Does a spoken word artist go to the bookstore and say, I'm interested in doing this? Or, it's just the coordination of it feels very unclear.
Good questions. What if, when we go and talk to folks, businesses, and say, hey, is this something you might be, we give them our messaging, our little pitch. If they say yes to, they might be interested, then we introduce them to, 2 or 3, I don't know, people, and we find out what would be appropriate for them. It's not a candy cutter, a cookie cutter thing. We ask them, would they be interested? What kind of art would they like? And, then we introduce them, either via email, and just at that point, I think we step back. Because again, we don't want to get into the negotiating,
Right.
what do you pay me, that's not it. It's like, hey, here are a couple of people, they do great work. I don't want to say we vetted them, but we know, we've seen their work and we've heard them or whatever. Here are some people you might want to think about. We're kind of like a matchmaker.
I guess and then, so are you saying we'd sort of have, so part of this process would be, again, working with the finding sort of like these different pots of potential artists that could be paired up, and then so I guess we'd rely on places like the Art League or other places like that who might know some appropriate artists for those spaces, or
I think to Marilla's point also, we can't leave out, there's a lot of people that aren't connected with any of the groups, and they're doing
right.
really cool stuff.
So then I guess like how do we yeah, I guess I'm just, and again, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but then who's sort of the holder of that information in terms of categorizing art or artists, or you know what I mean? It's just
Check
Yeah,
my
no, I-
LaTanya.
on.
But LaTanya, isn't that what you and Hop did? And kind of.
The artist and the art, as far as the artist job bank, those artists it's already kind of sorted on a spreadsheet, what type of artist or what type of art they are interested in sharing, along with their websites, along with whether or not they are part of a group, whether or not they do something as an individual. So those specifically, like that specific group of artists from the job bank, that information is already sorted out. So even if a business wanted to look at that database and say, oh, you know, they could click on the different links if they're looking for visual art. If they're looking for music, they can click on a link and see what type of live music they're looking for. And some of you guys weren't able to come to the what's good WeHa event, but there were just different folks that came out. You know, there were a couple spoken word folks, there were various artists, photographers that came out. It would be great to get some of those folks into some of these spaces.
So that
Chuck,
oh, go ahead, Hav.
I was just going to say, just to add to that. So I think it'd make it easier for us, so that we're not having to curate for each individual business that is inquiring, to lean on that the artist, you know, job bank that we already have. And, you know, my thought would be just to refer those businesses that are inquiring, refer them to that bank. Maybe we can bolster it up. Maybe we can you know, get a new push to get some new artists, some more artists on there, as opposed to, you know, someone reaching out to us. Then one of us, you know, would have to field that inquiry, then look at the job bank and decide who we think might be right for that business. When honestly, I think the people who will know what's right for their business would probably be the businesses themselves.
Yeah.
So I would say, you know, just, you know, if we give them the information, you know, they inquire, we give them the information, say, hey, this is where, you know, we have all our artists listed. Please feel free to look at it and contact, you know, whoever you see fit, you know, and then at that point, maybe, you know, we do a follow-up in a couple weeks just to see if it actually happened. And if it didn't, that's my only concern with that, is like leaving businesses to their own devices. They may or may not end up following through. So it would just be a matter of then following up and say, hey, did you, you know, I just want to see if everything worked out. You know, that's something that is easy to do. That just keeps us from, you know, from having that extra step of having to, you know, individually, you know, curate and you know, help each business that reaches out. In the beginning, that might be easy, but, you know, hopefully, as we have more businesses, it might be more difficult to keep up with.
From your lips to God's ears, there. Yeah. No, I think that's a good idea, and what we can do again with the media part of it when we get to that part. You know, that's one of the asks that we put out in the media. If you're an artist and you're interested in showcasing, click, you know, go to this link, and we can blast that stuff. I mean, there's so many different Facebook pages that we can put that on, and to get that kind of engagement and response. So I totally agree. I think the list that you two had started and that document could prove as a really good starting point for that. Does that make sense?
Can I ask you, I haven't looked at that artist job bank. Is it mostly performers?
Latanya?
It's a little bit of, it's a mix of everyone. I'm going to reshare that out. It's, you all have access to see who's on there, but I'm going to reshare that right now while we're in the meeting, if that's okay with you. And it'll be in your
Excellent.
emails.
Excellent. Well, why don't we do this? Because
Well, I guess where I was going with that is if it's mostly performers, if it's not visual artists, let's say. Now, photographers, I could see going onto that list because they want to get some photography jobs as well as showcase their art. But like an artist, somebody who is doing, I don't know, fine art, you know, that hangs on walls, might not be listed on that job bank. That's what prompted my question, but that might be the kind of thing many businesses might be. It's a low key thing, you know, to hang local art on your walls, but connecting those two things wouldn't happen maybe if they're not on the job bank. So if we want to get them on the job bank, then we have to find a network. The Art League's one way to start, and the media, whatever we say there, is another way, but that an individual artist might know, hey, my art is in different art shows in the area, but I might want to be on that job bank if I want the public to see my art in a more regular way. There are, you know, there are a bunch of artists like that who enjoy having their work seen. So
Yeah,
I don't know. We have to check who's on there.
yeah, that they would definitely be, you know, top on the list. People, you know, painters, photographers,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I mean, those are, you know, we've got those for showcase art, and you're actually, I know over at WeHa Brewing, that's what they got. Yeah. So why don't we do this instead of going through? And I've already put on a couple of suggestions that you guys have made in terms of businesses to maybe add onto this document. I want to be respectful of everybody's time, but that's a, you know, we're getting a little far ahead of ourselves. I think for what we need to do, tasks for this, you know, for like the next 30 days, I think is really that first block, immediate tasks, is reaching out to some of these groups to try and get some endorsements. You know, I'll put together kind of, again, a very quick messaging that would include, I mean, you know, don't take my word for it. Talk to, you know, the folks over at the Russell, or talk to, you know, Blueback.
Chuck, I don't know
Yeah.
if you can see my hand. I did think of another establishment that uses performers regularly, which is the Artisan. I think every Sunday for their brunch, and then like
Yes.
twice a month.
Yeah.
So they might be another one to get a testimonial from.
Do you know anybody over there?
No, but I'm happy to contact them. I mean, I go there enough.
Absolutely. I'm sure you're on their list.
And the other thing is too, the hotel might be a great spot for an artist to display there.
Yes. I have that down further down the line.
Oh, you do? Okay.
of
Sorry,
couple
didn't catch that.
places.
Oh, the Delamar, yeah. I think that'd be great.
But yeah,
But I can
I've
check
been
with
to
you.
Artisan when they have singers.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put you there, Carol. So why don't we do that? You know, our objective for the next meeting is just to work on that first segment, immediate tasks. Does that make sense to everybody? What do you think, Karen?
Me?
Yes.
Karen? Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
I was
Great.
shaking my head, but I was not speaking, so.
That's all right. Good. Okay. Any other discussion on this? And again, I'm not expecting, or, you know, we shouldn't expect that. I'm going to stop sharing. You know, we shouldn't expect that, you know, come September, you know, people are going to be dancing in the streets. It'd be nice, but you know, it's going to take us some time. But I think this is a good place to focus our energy. Does that make sense? I mean, please speak up if.
Yes, it makes sense to me. I'm good with it, with the next steps.
Okay, there we are. Okay, great.
The first task is to focus on getting the testimonials and then, right?
Yeah. If you want, I can, you know what I'll do? I'm gonna copy and paste this to you, Sue. Just so it's in our minutes.
Okay.
Okay, that's good. Okay. Any other discussion on that? For, you know, this is, we're gonna be talking about this in the months, a lot about this in the months to come. Okay. Yeah, Latanya, you kind of stole my thunder a little bit. Why don't you give us an update on, you know, what's up, WeHa? And how
What do
that
you mean I
event
stole your
goes. Great.
thunder?
What's that?
I said, what do you mean I stole your thunder?
No, when you mentioned it.
Oh,
About the performance you did and all the different vendors that came out and all the different
it
artists.
was a fun night. It was great to connect with the local artists. We had, I can't remember all of the names of the different artists, so I apologize for that because I wasn't expecting to. But we had a spoken word artist who came out and performed a couple of pieces. We had the West Hartford Chorale came, I think it was the chorale, the theater. It wasn't the chorale, it was the theater.
Yeah.
I think it
The,
was.
What's Hartford Community Theater?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. They came out and did a couple tunes, which was really sweet.
That's great.
We had visual artists, we had face painting that was going on, but we also had an individual gentleman right by the stage doing this huge painting as the event was going on. We had different visual artists just displaying their work and sharing their business cards. We had a gentleman that does techno music, like he's a one-man band kind of thing, and I believe he works at not Bartaco. What's right next to Bartaco over there? Goodness. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. But anyway,
Barcelona?
yeah, he works at Barcelona, and he was like, I might talk to them about perhaps maybe me performing there. He's never even told them that he does that. So, but it was a really great event, people connecting with one another, sharing information. Lots of people were there. There's clips of it online and some pictures that came out, but it was just nice to be able to connect and showcase people.
That's great.
It was a really fun time.
Thank you for doing it. That's just absolutely wonderful. I couldn't stay there long, but there was a great energy.
Yeah, I'd like to do it again. I had a couple of artists reach out to say, are we going to do this again, or maybe do something in the fall? So, you know.
Can we get all those folks on that the job bank list?
Yes, I just shared it in.
Oh, good. Are they on? Oh, great.
I just sent an email to all of you to say, hey, here's the list, and clicked on it.
Great. And it has some of those.
Folks that performed were also on. Not everyone on the job bank list performed. There wasn't enough time to have everybody or space for everyone. And not everyone signed up to do it.
Yeah.
But great. Folks that were on the job bank were there.
Great. Excellent. Yeah. Any questions for Latanya?
No, I just wanted to say I stopped by for a bit, Latanya, and you were amazing. So you really had the crowd going.
It was a fun time.
Everyone was dancing. Yeah, it was really fun. It was great to see. And I loved the guy who was doing the art right there. It was so cool.
Wasn't he fantastic?
Yeah, he was amazing. But nice job.
That's great. That's great. Okay, let's, I think the last thing we have is the vision statement that we talked about and redid last meeting. You've all had a chance to see it. You're probably sick of it by now. But is there a motion to approve the vision statement? Anybody like to make that motion?
We already did this last month, or in
Yeah.
May. We voted on that vision statement.
Never mind. Wow, that's great. You saved us a couple of minutes. Thank you. And then the final West Hartford Center Infrastructure Master Plan, West Hartford Wayfinding Signage Plan, that's still in the works. No update there. Does anybody have any new business they'd like to bring up or discuss? Yes, Karen.
I don't know if it's new, it's old probably.
Yes.
Just following up again with any progress around getting another way to post events besides just the two banners that are up there. I mean, we presented some information about the Morris columns.
Yeah.
Did that all just get shunted over to wait until the Wayfinder thing gets finished?
That's all. Yeah, that's stuff that they're going to consider in their.
Because it didn't, the report that was published so far didn't look like it was concerned with any of that.
Well, there's two different reports that have been out. One is the Center Infrastructure Plan, which is more about roads and street signage. And then there's the other, the wayfinding and signage. There's one plan that's just for the center, and then the other plan is for the whole town, in terms of signage for the whole town.
But that signage doesn't really address posting of events.
Well, it could. It could. It's you know, they're nowhere near. I don't think they've hired anyone to do it. I don't know if the Morris columns, if that's going to happen. I'll follow up with Rick. That's actually a good reminder to follow up.
I mean, it doesn't have to be Morris columns. It's just we continue on with two banners each week, and that's the only way we have in our town to post anything visually. You know, that the town. I know. I know.
I totally get it.
And I felt like when he had our last town manager, we sort of had half an ear on that because he was interested in it.
Oh, Rick has been very open. Rick.
And then you change it, and then the priorities change. That's all.
No, I don't think the priorities have changed. There's a lot of things. You know, our town manager is very supportive of what we're doing, and you know, I keep him informed as to what what's important to us, what we want to do. It's also, I think it's part of a larger opportunity that the town is looking at, and how we promote arts and culture events. And saying that, it's not just events from organizations that many of you represent, but it's also things like the MLK Day presentation, the holiday stroll. There's so many things that go on in town, and I think we could do a better, and they don't fall under our purview. We need kind of in town hall, it would be helpful to have a place. I believe, this is just my opinion right now, so I'm not speaking for the one or two people that might be listening. My opinion is a town like West Hartford, who does so many things so well, we need to have a centralized marketing, events, culture department that really focuses on these things and is kind of like a one-stop. And sometimes, to put on the holiday stroll, that's a lot of work. You got to close traffic. And, you know, same thing that probably, you know, the folks at Blueback, when they had Latanya, you know, it's almost like each event is done separately in a vacuum. And maybe that's not fair of me to say, but if we had one place and one that also could address some of these problems of, you know, how do we promote instead of these banners that only we have 2 of them at a time? That's, you know me. I really think that is, you know, nothing screams it's 1980 for a community than those banners. And you know, we can do better. But you know, that one of the things that we will talk about, if you'd like, is maybe some recommendations that we can make to the town as to you know, what the town might want to be thinking long term. You know, town does not have unlimited resources. Everybody thinks the town has all this money to spend on different things. They're very careful with how they spend money. And, you know, just because we come up with a great idea that is going to add benefit to the town doesn't mean there aren't, you know, 50 other people in town doing the same thing. And you can't do them all. So, you know, I think that is definitely worth, and that's another long-term thing. It's not a quick fix, but it's a long-term thing. But I do think it starts with, you know, centralizing, or at least again, my opinion, I believe a centralized department person, point of contact for marketing, culture, and events. That ends the editorial portion of tonight's meeting.
Chuck?
Yes, Carol.
Oh, I just wanted to mention, I didn't know if anybody saw, did you see the contest the library is doing?
Library does
For-
great stuff.
Yeah, so they're
Tell us about
doing, speaking of banners,
Yeah.
they're calling on artists to, it's going to be a contest. They're doing banners that are going to hang on the light posts on South Main. Artists are asked to do a banner that will depict West Hartford and all the unique characteristics of it. And I just thought it was really kind of a cool thing and
That's great.
something the Art Commission might want to know about and pay attention to anyway.
Yeah. Who is
It was on, it's on their website, but I think I saw it on WeHa.com. It's called
okay?
Capture the Wonder of West Hartford through your artwork.
I will. I'm glad you pointed that out. Let me. I'll call Laura, the library director, and see if there's anything we can do to help.
Yeah, looks like a pretty big undertaking, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Laura. If I don't write it down right now, I'll forget about it. Okay. Does anybody have any new business or anything else they want to bring up? Been a great discussion. All righty, with leaving that 7:36. Sorry about that. All right, do we have a motion to adjourn? Rilla,
Lots of motions.
Tanya seconds. All in favor, raise your hand. All right, unanimous. Thank you very much, everyone. And for those that are going to be reaching out to folks, feel free to give me, you know, to get for the testimonials, feel free to reach out to me, and I'd be happy to help out.
Our next meeting, I'm sorry,
Oh.
Karen.
That's what I was
Our
gonna
next
ask.
Next meeting, we are scheduled for third Monday in August is the 21st. Is that, what is everybody, I mean, I understand that people have vacations, are going to be away, but does anybody know now that they won't be able to make it? Karen, okay.
Yeah.
Why don't we go ahead we can still have it, even if we don't have a quorum, we can still have a meeting. We just can't vote on anything. So we're going to plug ahead, and I'll kind of, remind folks of that. And I understand, listen, it's I know it's only an hour a month, but it's right in the middle of time with the family and all that. I get it. But we'll go ahead and meet, keep it scheduled. And if you can make it, it's great. I mean, we had a really good discussion tonight, and it's always great when we get as many people as possible.
Right.
All righty.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
I
you.
really
Good
appreciate
night.
it.
Everybody, be
Thank
well.
Great to see you all.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Great
Bye, guys.
summer.